Hey everybody, this is your GM, your back row Domus, your GM who currently is not on the team right now, but don't you worry about it. Kale, here to bring you episode 10 of the Stack and Shed series. Now, in this series, we're covering all 32 teams, so everybody gets a chance to be talked about, all right? Now, in this series, we're covering a few different topics, and they include what went wrong, what do they need, stack or shed, their draft picks, one move I would do in their cap space. Now, in this episode, we're talking about the Eagles. So, for all my Eagles fans out there, fly, Eagles, fly, because you guys aren't going to the Super Bowl anytime soon. But let's talk about it. All right, let's get into it. So, what went wrong in the Eagles season? And I would venture to say it was inconsistent offensive play calling and execution. As we all know, every time a team wins the Super Bowl, they undergo some change. Now, the degree of the change varies. Sometimes an entire coaching staff can leave and a whole bunch of players can leave. And then there's other times where everybody stays for reduced salaries and reduced roles just so they can run it back one more time. As much as Nick Sirianni publicly wanted Kellen Moore to stay with the Eagles, we knew that wasn't going to happen. Now, I would have expected the Eagles to make another external hire at offensive coordinator, but of course they didn't, and they decided to make an internal promotion and make Kevin Patula the next offensive coordinator. Regardless if you think that was the right move or the wrong move, it was a move that was most likely going to happen. However, there is a trend that I need to bring to your attention. Whenever the Eagles make an external hire at either offensive or defensive coordinator, the team tends to progress. But whenever they make an internal promotion, that's when the team regresses. Now, you would have think the Eagles would have picked up on this by now, but clearly they haven't. Now, according to Sumer Sports, here's the stats for the Eagles passing offense in 2024. They had 448 passing attempts for 303 completions, 3,517 passing yards, 206.9 passing yards per game, 7.8 passing yards per attempt, 24 touchdowns, 67.6 completion percentage, and a 44.3% pass rate. Now here's the stats for the Eagles rushing offense in 2024. 621 rushing attempts for 3,048 rushing yards, 179.3 rushing yards per game, 4.9 rushing yards per carry, 30 rushing touchdowns, and a 55.7% run rate. Now here's the Eagles passing offense in 2025. 497 passing attempts for 318 completions, 3,498 passing yards, 205.8 passing yards per game, 7 passing yards per attempt, 26 touchdowns, a 64% completion percentage, and a 52.7% pass rate. Now when we look at the Eagles rushing offense in 2025, this is what we have. 478 rushing attempts for 1,988 rushing yards, 116.9 rushing yards per game, 4.1 rushing yards per carry, 17 rushing touchdowns, and a 47.3% run rate. Now, this is how efficient the Eagles' offense was in 2024 to 2025. So in 2024, they had a 44.25% offensive success rate, 210 red zone plays for 38 red zone touchdowns and 12 turnovers. In 2025, they had a 42.38% success rate, 151 red zone plays, 31 red zone touchdowns, and 13 turnovers. The proof is in the pudding here, folks. The offense from 25 regressed compared to the offense in 24. And it was the same personnel. There wasn't a significant change from both of those offenses. Now, as much as everybody wants to blame Kevin Patula on why this offense wasn't successful, we need to point fingers at Jalen Hurts as well. Because there were multiple times where Jalen Hurts did not throw it to the open man. There were multiple times in the Thursday night game against the Giants where multiple people were open and he didn't throw him the ball. Literally, Dallas Goedert just ran up the middle. Nobody was covering him at all. You could have had a walk-in touchdown right there. He didn't throw it to him. Devontae Smith was open one time. He didn't throw him the ball. Even when we look at the Black Friday game against the Bears, there were multiple times where people were open. For every 2 to 5 games that the Eagles offense struggles and they're not playing their best ball, they'll have 2 or 3 games where they're actually playing a little bit better, and now everybody wants to talk their stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that, because at the end of the day, what separates the greats from average is consistency. And if you're not showing consistency, then we have a problem. Now, with that being said, what do the Eagles need? And that is better offensive play calling and execution. Now, I don't think Sean Mannion is a bad hire. I just would have thought the Eagles would have went after a veteran offensive coordinator. Someone like a Mike McDaniel or Brian Daboll, for instance, right? Because when we look at Sean Mannion's coaching history, He started off as an offensive assistant with the Packers in 24, then he was promoted to work with the quarterbacks in 25. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but we have to be a little bit patient before we start giving our opinions on if this move was either good or bad. Now, as far as execution, that falls on Jalen Hurts. If somebody is open, just give them the ball. You have a plethora of different options that you can pass to. Somebody is going to be open. If Saquon isn't open, Devontae Smith is going to be open. If A.J. Brown isn't open, Dallas Goedert is going to be open. If Hollywood Brown isn't open, somebody is going to be open. Nobody is saying that you have to be a perfectionist. Nobody is saying that you have to play at an MVP level. All they want you to do is just execute. If you can execute, nobody will complain. Now, with that being said, the question we all need to ask ourselves is stack or shed. And I would venture to say stack. And the reason why I say that is because this roster is still competitive. All they have to do is just address the few holes on this team. Now, I'm not surprised the Eagles haven't been big players in free agency because I know they've been trying to go after a pass rusher, and that hasn't been successful. Now, we all know they signed Tyreek Woolen, which is a good move, and we know that they re-signed Dallas Goedert to a one-year deal. That's good as well. But as far as that big dynamic move that everybody is waiting for the Eagles to make, I don't think that's going to happen. And if it does, it'll probably be at the trade deadline during the season. When we look at their draft picks, they have their first, their second, they have 2/3, 2/4, and 2/5. But the question is this. If you're Howie, is there somebody in this draft that you feel like you may have to trade up to get? Or is there somebody that you feel confident in that you can get in the second or third round where you can trade down and you can get more picks? I believe the second and fourth round is the sweet spot in this draft class. And I believe a lot of teams are going to trade down to be big players within that range. And I also believe that a lot of teams are preparing themselves for the 27 draft class. So if you're the Eagles, what do you do? Do you stay put? Do you be aggressive? Or do you try to trade down? Me personally, I would trade down just a little bit. If you just move down maybe 2 or 3 spots, I think you're still in a really good spot. However, if there's somebody that you're really high on, that you believe that if you add them to the team, they're going to be a dynamic playmaker, then you go and be aggressive and you make that move. Now, the one move that I would do is draft a right tackle. Now, I know this is a little bit controversial, but just walk with me, okay? In the past few years, we've started to see that Lane Johnson's availability in play has started to regress. And we know in the last few years, there's been rumors going around that he's contemplating retirement. So if you're the Eagles, I think this is the perfect year for you to go after right tackle. If you trade up and get one of the top right tackle prospects and then you just let him sit and learn under Lane Johnson, I think that's a good move. Because at this point, you're going to have to start making some investments into this offensive line again. Looking at their cap situation, they have $13.6 million, which is probably going to be used for the draft picks. But the question is this. If you're the Eagles, do you feel comfortable with your current cap situation right now? Do you feel like you need to restructure a couple deals so you can be players in that second and third wave of free agency? Because I don't think the Eagles are done. I think the Eagles are big game hunting. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to make a big trade for Max Crosby or they're going to try to trade for Chris Jones or, I don't know, somebody else that's, super elite or whatever. But I do expect for the Eagles to do something significant soon. But only time will tell. But I'm in this episode here. If you guys like what you're listening, please make sure you guys leave a 5-star review on anywhere and everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, okay? We're available on Apple, Spotify, and a few other places. Now, if you want to access those places, go on Google, type in rss.com Football Junkies Podcast. It should be the first link. When you click on that link, it'll take you to our rss.com page where you can listen to this podcast on your online browser. There should be a box that says listen to. When you click on that box, it'll give you a plethora of different places that you can listen to this podcast on, all right? Now, for my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this episode and any other content that I have posted out. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let's talk about it, all right? Now, you can follow us on YouTube at Football Junkies Pod. Football Junkies Pod. And we have a link tree in our bio. When you click on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, all right? Now, for my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod, all right? Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not spaced, okay? It is together, not space. Football_Junkies Pod. All right. You can follow me on TikTok at Football Junkies Pod. Football Junkies Pod. You can follow me on Blue Sky at GM G as in good, M as in morning, Kale. Kaile. You can follow me on Twitter at GM G as in good, M as in morning, Kale. Kaile. All right. As always, I hope I gave you guys a fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening to the best football podcast that you can listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And as always, this is your GM Kale signing out. Peace and love. Later, guys.